Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and I'm starting a new card series focusing on Mother's Day cards. And my very first project is using those dies that make cool three-dimensional flowers. And I've never used them before, so I wanted to give it a shot. And for this one, I am using the Elizabeth Craft Designs Garden Notes Southern Magnolia dies. And so those three white pieces are sort of the three largest dies in the set, you see there. And those are the flower petals. Then the leaves, you can cut as many as you want out of the leaf dies. And then the little centers that are pink, you need two of those. So I cut two of those out of some perfect pink cardstock. And the leaves are out of true green soft finish cardstock, also from Elizabeth Craft Designs. Now the back of the soft finish cardstock is white. And I wasn't sure how much you might see the backs of the petals and the leaves. So I decided I would color them, and so I used Mowed Lawn Distress ink for the back of the green leaves, and I used Sponge Sugar for the inside of what will be the center of my flower. And then I'm going to take some distress inks and use some sponge daubers to add color to my petals. Now this is a Southern Magnolia, but I decided to change it and turn it into a pink Magnolia because I love pink magnolias. So I'm using some Sponge Sugar distress ink and a dauber to just spread a tint of pink all the way across the flowers. And then I'm adding picked raspberry and darkening that down in the middles to get kind of an ombre effect to the petals that is, similar to what you actually see on pink magnolias. So they're kind of almost white on the outside edges, but very sort of deep pink on the insides. And I did that on both sides of the petals. And then I added a little picked raspberry to my center pieces as well to just give it a little dimension. Now, when I was looking at pictures of Southern Magnolias, I noticed that their leaves are different, or not Southern Magnolias, pink Magnolias. The pink Magnolia leaves are different than Southern Magnolia leaves. Southern Magnolia leaves are very waxy and kind of only have one vein up the middle, while pink Magnolias seem to be more matte, and they have like a red tint to them around the edges. So I used worn lipstick and added like some shading around the edges. And then they also have a lot more veins, at least it looked like to me, than the Southern Magnolia leaves. So I am using the Susan's Garden 4-piece metal toolkit and adding some veins into the leaves. And you can sort of see it there. It's kind of like an embossed effect. Now you can scratch into that with the tool if you wanted to really make like veins that are obvious, like white. I just wanted to get like an embossed look. And now I'm using this sort of scoopy tool, and I'm rubbing on the back, just on the outside edges, to get them to turn back, like away from you. And then when I flip it over, I'm doing the opposite and pulling it down in the middle to have it kind of go away. So it's getting sort of a very 3D effect. And then I mold the very tips of the leaves back again to get a very natural kind of leaf look. And I did that for pretty much all the leaves. And it was really, really easy and fun to do. And now I'm doing the exact same thing with the outside edges of the magnolia petals. So I'm using that little scoopy tool, and I'm pressing so that the flowers or the petals will mold away from you. And then I'm using it to kind of scoop it towards the middle. And really this was the one that did it for me. The large like ball tool, pressing that down into the middles of the petals really gave it a lot of dimension and got it going in 3D and kind of lifting up. And so I did do 2 additional magnolias. I did one that was a tiny bud. So I used just this leaf that you're looking at here, and then the smaller 3 petals. I didn't use the four large petals for my little bud. And then I did a second one that used all of the dies, but I made it look smaller by cutting off one of the petals from the 4-petal die, and then kind of molding it up even more so it kind of will sit behind the first flower that you're seeing me make now. Now you bend the little center into kind of a V shape, so it kind of really folds in on itself. And now I'm using the Kids' Choice glue to adhere all the pieces together. And I had one petal fall off my 4 petals, so I used a little piece of double-sided adhesive tape to get that to stick together again, and it worked just like a charm. And so now I'm going to dip the 2 larger petals into the glue and set it in place on top of the 4 petals. And then I'll do the same thing with the small 3 petals, just kind of, placing them sort of offset so that you can see all the petals and you get a lot of the dimension. And then for the center, you want to take glue and put it along the edges of one of the pieces. And then you're going to glue it together to create like a cone. So you're going to stick one piece inside the other piece and kind of squeeze it together. So it creates like a conical shaped middle. And then it takes a little bit of time to set, like maybe like 30 seconds or so, not long. And I did have to tuck a little bit of extra glue under there just to get a good adhesion going between the two edges. And then I'm going to take the bottom and get a healthy amount of glue on the bottom of my little cone center there. And I will stick that into the middle. And that is basically the completed flower. And now for my leaves, I'm just dipping the ends into the glue and tucking it under the flower here and there to create like a nice leafy effect all the way around. And this glue sets, like I said, it probably takes 5 minutes max to like set, and then maybe half an hour to an hour max to like really dry all the way through. And it does dry clear, so you don't have to worry about like if you get a lot of it on your middle, you won't see it once it's dry. Now for my greeting, I used Happy 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 from Lawn Fawn, and I'm stamping Happy and Mother's Day in Versamark ink on some white cardstock, and I'm going to heat emboss it in gold embossing powder. Because, you know, Mother's Day, you gotta have like a fun, pretty gold greeting, right? So I'll be heat embossing this, and then I will cut out the Happy using the matching die set. And those are my two greetings, and here are all my components. So I cut a gatefold piece from the Gatefold Elegant Roses cardstock, and then this is a piece of shimmer sheets, which is really cool, in light pink iridescent. And I'm going to layer those all together. And then here's my Happy that I die cut out with the matching die, and then I used my distress marker and spun sugar to color it in and give it a little bit of contrast with my sort of white on white backgrounds. And then there's my little bud that I mentioned. So you can see I kind of pinched the bottom together to get it really like tucked up and small looking. And then this one, I removed one of the larger petals, and then I bent that last one down because I'm going to tuck that under the large petal. So it does look like it's not quite as big as the original one. So they're really flexible. You can kind of mess around with them and get the size that you want. And then of course I had to add glitter. So I took my Spectrum Noir sparkle marker in clear and added a glitter all the way around the edges of the petals. So now I've adhered down my shimmer sheets, and now I'm going to adhere down my gatefold die using my Zig 2A glue pen. If I'd thought about it ahead of time, I should have put some adhesive sheets on the back of that before I cut it, but didn't think of that. So my Zig worked just fine, and I did put a block on that and let it sit for a little while. Now to adhere my flowers down, I'm using the Kids' Choice glue again and just dabbing it onto the bottom of the main flower, which is the first flower you saw me make, and putting that in place. And then I'm going to dab glue onto this sort of random petal that's sticking down that's going to tuck under, and then also the base of this flower to get it tucked underneath the first one. And then my little bud is going to just get some glue on the bottom and then the center to tuck it right underneath the two other ones. And then I'll add a little bit more glue to my leaves and tuck a couple more leaves into the center, just as I did with the original flower. And that is basically my little flower bunch on the bottom of my card. And I thought it turned out pretty good. Is it perfect? No. I'm sure there are like people who've worked with these dies a million times who can make really super realistic ones. But I was happy with the way it turned out, and I was amazed at how easy it was to do. Like really easy. So if you've never done it and you've always wanted to try it, I highly encourage you to do so. And now there's my greeting adhered down. And that's basically the completed project. Now I did want to show you how I plan to mail this. So I have a piece of paper that is 9 5/8 square, and I'm punching it at 4 5/8 and then scoring it down the side, and then again at 6 1/8 and scoring it down the side again. So you do that on each one side. You flip it 180 degrees and do it again, and then you line up the score marks to make the second round of punches and score lines. Hopefully that makes sense. But it will then fold up. So now I'm going to trim off. You have like these extra pieces because it's going to be an inch thick because my flowers are fairly large. And then I'm just going to score it all together, and my card will fit right inside that. And then my plan is to add some like bubble wrap sort of around the flowers, and then to kind of support the empty space. And then I'll wrap the whole thing in bubble wrap, and that will go in the mail and hopefully not get crushed. But that box that I made is pretty heavy duty paper, so just be aware of that. And that is the completed project. So I hope I've given you a little very feminine floral Mother's Day inspiration today. I had really a lot of fun making those 3D flowers, and so if you've never tried it, I would encourage you to do it, because even though it wasn't originally my style, I actually really like it, and I think I'm going to try some other ones in the future. So thanks so much for watching. There is a supply list linked in the video description below and on my blog. If you like the video, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up, and I would love it if you subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks so much. Have an amazing day.